AI facilitated threats. It's a threat. It's a general security threat to everyone, and generally to security, peace and security. And so now, I mean, when you come to the disarmament world, we have 4D arms or weapons. I mean, you can literally print a gun, in other parts of the world. And there's so much, you see AI and technology for that is a threat. But like you said earlier, one of kind is a two-edged sword. And what AI can do, AI bet to me, papa and no swan bonino. And the papa no bonino most of the time. And Ebani said that we must invest in the good side of AI to be able to counter the bad side, including what we are talking about this morning. And I'll throw the first stone to you, the media houses. Do we wait for a time like this to talk about gender? How gendered are your own policies in Happy FM? Rebecca spoke about the fact that there is a safeguarding policy at GIJ. Mobi, how empowered are your females? Not just your females, but even your journalists in general and your females in particular. How much did they know about these AI facilitated threats? How much do they know? What are the algorithms? Do they know about these things? And how are they even empowered to protect themselves from it? So these things are institutional. We cannot leave them to individuals alone. Of course, individuals must protect themselves, but the institution must first and foremost put in procedures and policies to protect its workers. How well are we doing that as media houses? Or do we just wait for times like this to talk about it and we fold up? And internally, how well are your own processes? Do you have gender trainings for your media people? Do they understand equality, or you understand it as women taking over men's jobs and things like that? So we need to start all of these things, and all of these things, one way or the other, buttresses against some of these threats, whether it's AI, it's physical, all of these things are able to buttress against them. Now, when you come to AI, like Rebecca said earlier, it's a multiplier. It multiplies. And when one person will maybe accost a female journalist, and when we say female journalists, especially those who are into political reporting, especially those who are into election reporting, they are the most targeted. I mean, those who are doing normal family issues may not really be under such threat. But those who are into the political field, into the election field, into the power play areas, they are mostly the targets of the apparatus of most of the politicians and the big people, and to silence them. And that's where we must also focus our attention. And so, like I try to say, we need to start, just like we all do, and especially in our CSO world, we need to start the work at home. We need to start training our our journalists in general. We need to start having policies, gender policies, equality policies, social policies, safeguarding policies, and train our women and even our journalists in general on how to protect other people, help them to understand how this AI thing is working and how they can protect themselves from it. So yes, the security threat is real, but there's so much we can do about it.
So it begins with a proper understanding of gender-related issues. Then say that will help prevent a lot of the issues. Na akwa jinse mo just as Rebecca and so say I mean approach ben and was say it to me edidi say adwuma wadaroma
approach the very, very, like I have said earlier, very general. First and foremost, how do media houses have gender policy? That's the most basic. Let's even begin to think about having a gender policy or a safeguarding policy is a your friend is saying is maybe the secondary. It's important, but it's even secondary. The primary one, do you have gender equality policies that determine how you even recruit, how you ensure that women climb up the ladder? Because when you look at the media space, women in my maybe if I was in the country more. Yeah, we share the leadership of media houses in Memana also. Imanu mostly are at the low level, and that makes them very susceptible to abuse. And what is the policy to make sure that Imanu so to me echo leaders, heading desk and things like that? What is the policy? Most of the time, we share entry level. No one say money doors, but we come middle, no money drop it. What is the policy to retain women? Nina can empowerment ni hua or bet to me I can say okay, if I know this and I can do this, I can protect myself this way. So that's one. So let's just have a basic gender policy in media houses. Of course, then we can hold organizations like GIJ also responsible to make sure that media houses have all of these things. And when you have that policy, it's also important to train, and training is part of all policies. That you train, you build capacity on gender. Most of the time, I'm saying gender, oh, gender, they are oh, gender, they are man, and you see gender, now I call friend man, but that is not gender. Gender equality about both men and women. Let's just say, both in my man and man, the right policies that guide them throughout the work. And we need training so that the men will understand the women and the women will understand the men.
Is it the case as a man on Timana and as a movie and two bias?
Yeah, who friend me no pay. Oh, me or by normally, I did some research in media houses. Mr. Mufre man or mumba. Oh man, no, they be from Mustase. Over for about an opportunity to say mostly not in manner na air show mama school. I have dropped my kid before I'm talking to you. In manner na a yes edumano. And now and Abia Obama does not have that responsibility. And so when you say Ufe man or mumba, their responsibilities in the morning, especially early in the morning and late in the night, is a lot. So if you understand these things, you know when to bring a woman in so that she's comfortable. Men to have their own challenges. It doesn't mean that they are always free. Almost some more challenges. So we need to understand some of all of these things so that we can work well. And when you come to AI again, like we are talking, there are specific ways of trolling females. You are a prostitute. You won't say that to a man. Why will you say that to a man who is reporting on an election? But when it's Obadi, Oba cannot get to this level without being a prostitute. Or Oba cannot get to this level without sleeping with another higher up. And we'll kill you, we'll do this, we'll do that. There are specific ways of threatening and abusing women. We have to understand all of that. We need to bring on board psychologists to understand the way these things work so that we can also train our both male and female so that they understand how these things work so that they can protect themselves against it. And to the very basic is to have gender equality policy training, investing in these areas. It's not enough to talk about them. It's very important that we train ourselves about it, understand how it works, and also develop countermeasures against it, just like we do in conflict analysis and in peace building.
Mami Misa, final question, which will be Ediana, a year policy makers, policy implementers, maker at the top, political actors, won't be to me in this regard.
At the top, no, when you see Ghana, at least Ghana has a cybersecurity framework. And also, I think we have an authority that is doing very, very, very well in trying to protect citizens in general, and especially when it comes to child abuse and things like that on the cyber front. And it will be very, very good for media houses, for instance, GIJ and media houses, to begin to have a talk with this cybersecurity authority to see how they can support in training or how they can come up with things that can help female journalists online, especially. I think it will be very, very good to have that talk with them. And then there are very general policies. I mean, from our end at FOSDA and CSOs, we are pushing for more women participation in the peace and security sector, and more women participation in mediation, more women participation, and of course, in the media front. So when we have more women participation and we have more women speaking up, we have more women also empowered, that will also help change the narrative. And I forgot to say that we must use our media space. I mean, the media is the fourth estate, whether we like it or not. And see, the media must also be used to educate women, not just women, but citizens against shaming women and against abusing women and accepting the leadership of women. The media is in the best and better place to be able to do that in general. So that we don't wait for such days only and talk about it. But in general, we must be able to educate our populace to understand that women have rights, women are human beings, women can lead, and women can also be journalists. And so that we minimize some of these attacks against women in general. But definitely policies, there are policies in place. I really don't know much of policies regarding journalism, but a lot of, when it comes to violent extremism, conflict, and things like that, there are policies in place that are trying to protect. In fact, we have what we call the Ghana National Action Plan on Women, Peace and Security, which has it is promoting women participation, protection of women, and journalists fall within all of these circles. And so all of these plans and policies also cover women in general and journalists. And so we must really work together, I must say. We must work together to ensure that, in fact, and this plan that I'm talking about is one of the foremost plans on women, peace and security, which also borders on women's security in journalism and AI and all of that. And so we are about drafting a third generation of this, and we must ensure that women issues be also catered for in that national action plan. That will be my pledge as an advocate for that, so that we ensure that women in journalism will also be featured in our national action plans, security plans.